Oh, man. Good evening. It is Monday, September 11th, 2023. This is the Stoughton Plan Commission meeting. And call to order, we have a quorum. Alderperson Caravello will be running late. Before we get into the meeting, I just want to take a moment to reflect, since it's 9/11 day. So if we want to just take a moment and we'll begin the meeting. Okay, thank you. Can everyone on Zoom hear us tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Awesome, great. We do have verification of the quorum and open meeting laws. So the first item on the agenda would be the approval of the minutes from August 14th. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Motion by Bradford, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Schumacher. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Council representative report. We do have a few items on for tomorrow night. Some of them are familiar. That'll be on tonight as well. We have at the City Council for tomorrow night, we're going to have the certified survey map for a second reading for Lot 1, 2, 3, and Outlet 1 of 51 and Highway B. We're also going to have second readings on the ordinance for 211 South Water Street and a second reading for 2605 Cromwell Court, as well as some other resolutions that are related to that development. That would take us to a staff report, and I see Rodney's on here tonight. Did you want to give the staff report?
And the staff report's included in the packet. Happy to answer any questions if there are any related to the items on there.
All right, any questions about the staff report? Hearing none. We'll move on to a TID number 6 project plan and territory amendment, and we will have a need for a public hearing and a recommendation for the council. Before we do that, we'll have kind of a quick overview at TID number 6. I think this is familiar to most of you. This is the area out off of Glacier Marine Drive. And what we're trying to do is include the parcels that are across the street from the former NAFA building, which is now known as the Marquee Metal Building. And across the street is the building that Emmy Roth is just about finished with. And we like to include that in the district. And we do have Dave Ferris here from Ellers that's going to kind of give us up to date. You can just push so the red button lights up, and then adjust your microphone, and you can give us kind of an overview of where we're at.
You wanted me to go in detail as far as the project plan, or do you want to just kind of?
Why don't you do a quick overview, and if they have any questions, we can dive into that. If you need me to put up some graphics, let me know.
I think my presentation is in the packet, and I can just do a quick overview through that. We did actually have a organizational meeting with the Joint Review Board this afternoon. Everybody was in attendance, and we were able to introduce the project plan amendment to them, and they had no questions. So didn't seem to draw any contentious things. So I think probably we're heading towards a potential approval from them when we meet October 16th. As far as the plan, I was here, let's say a month ago, and we kind of went through the whole project plan. I don't really want to go through all that again. I think you've heard enough from me as far as that goes. As far as the presentation goes, you probably down a couple more slides so you get to the PowerPoint. There we go. That's a project plan. I wonder if the other one's in there, the shorter one. I think Michael had it in there first.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. So as far as the plan of events, we met with the Joint Review Board. You're having your public hearing now. If you approve that, you'll send it to council, who will consider it on September 26th. And if council approves the amendment, then we'll take it back to the Joint Review Board on October 16th. The district does not, just because it's amended, doesn't change the expenditure period or how long the district is staying open. So your expenditure period is September of 2030, and you're able to collect increment through 2036. Mayor already gave you kind of an introduction as to where that property is. The project costs really. There's some money in the project plan for development incentives. That's something that will be ongoing discussion. There's a rail spur. I think the question came up at the last plan commission about how that one worked. Otherwise, it's administration and some master planning. As far as the development assumptions, based on some of the numbers that we ran earlier, it sounded like there would be about $30 million of value coming in based on the Emmy Roth facility, and that really translates into about $7.4 million of tax increment revenue just from that, well, actually in addition to what we had before. So in total, we'll have $7.4 million of value or of revenue coming in for this district. One of the reasons that it's really important for this amendment to be considered is prior to considering this, the TIF district is really what they call upside down or underwater. If you close if the district closed when the maximum life is, the district would be about $2 million in the hole, meaning the general fund will have paid out $2 million that it won't get back. If you were able to take advantage of a 3-year extension, you would still be $1,950,000 in the hole. And so really this amendment does a great deal of benefit to the district. You know, you have other things you want to do out there. There's objectives you want to take on. And so when you actually see the cash flow that's in the project plan, there's a demonstration of that new value really takes us from not closing the district with a positive balance to basically having a positive balance in about 2030, and that's without those development incentives being included. That'll be something that will use some of the extra fund balance that'll be accumulated after we get to 2030, and so that'll be something that if the council ends up taking action on those incentives, that we would structure that so that the district would actually come out positive and close successfully. So that's something that'll be a big deal coming forward to make sure that the district still closes successfully. So that's kind of an overview of where we're at as far as the project plan, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions before we open it up for public hearing? All right, we close our regular meeting, open up for public hearing. Is anybody here wish to speak on this topic? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing and we will reopen for our regular business. And our business is to make a recommendation to the city council as part of the process to potentially approve this plan. At this point, I would entertain a motion for the resolution. Motion by Commissioner Bradford. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Alderperson Schumacher. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Are there any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Next item is the certified survey map for property on the southeast corner of US Highway 51, County Highway B for STI Holdings. This one we will be looking for a recommendation as well. This one, there's information in the packet. You'll see the cover letter from Director Scheel. You'll see some maps in there of the property. It looks like we have a representative here, a couple of them from STI. Is there anything that you wanted to update on us tonight?
Steve Trellin with MSA. I just wanted to note in conversations when we went through the comp plan amendment was a consideration of Greenbrier Drive of what that right-of-way width would be, and there was some discussion between 100 or 90 as shown here. So I did want to bring that to attention, that we're considering 100-foot is a collector street here. Only 80 is usually typically required, with 44 between curb face to curb face. 100 is really for your boulevard type streets, which this is not. We understand the consideration of the multi-use path that we're going to put on the north side of the road. And with 90 feet, you are still getting 8 feet on the south side with the sidewalk, and between 13 and 15 feet on the north side. So we felt in discussions that that was a good separation, that you could put a good planted buffer along that north side, along that trail corridor. And so I just wanted to note that 90 feet was soon to be sufficient.
All right, thank you. Are there anything that you want to add, Director Shield?
Yeah, maybe it's worth walking through the resolution. The resolution, I'm sorry, can you pull it up on the screen, Mayor?
Sure. Yeah, you're a little bit muffled tonight, but we'll be able to make it out.
Okay. So the resolution highlights a number of conditions that are recommended for approval of this CSM. And one of the conditions that was just referenced was the recommendation in the resolution to change the right-of-way width to 100 feet as opposed to 90 that's shown on the certified survey map. And that was an acknowledgement of the direction from the council. So if there's a desire to reduce the right-of-way width for Greenbrier Drive to match the CSM that's been provided at 90 feet, that condition of the resolution would need to be changed to reflect that. Is it on the screen, Mayor?
Yeah, it should be, or it's on our screen, but not yours. Sorry about that. It's,
Okay.
yeah, it's item number 3, is that it?
That's correct, thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No worries. So we can walk through all the conditions. Many of them are very similar to what you'd find as a result of preliminary and/or final plat, and are conditions that need to be satisfied before the city could sign the certified survey map. For example, the first one is a condition that says Lot 2, which is the south lot, can't be developed until such time there is an acceptable means to address right-of-way continuance from Black Oak Drive and/or Oak Ridge Way. And that might be as simple as a path or an easement for utilities, but nonetheless, Lot 2 has been created in a large block on the CSM that would need to be refined and work through an approval process with the city before we could address that. Secondly, Lot 3 is the larger undevelopable lot, and we're suggesting similar language in that we wouldn't want to have Lot 3 have any development approved for that unless we work through that process with the city. Item 3, as you noted, that's the right-of-way width one. So if the commissioners support the request of the developer to change that to 90 feet, this item would have to be changed. And the additional item modified to accommodate the additional dedication of right-of-way as shown on attachment B. And actually the document that you have, or the CSM that you have now, in essence matches that. There is a need to dedicate some additional right-of-way, and you can see it in the bottom left-hand corner of that illustration at the corner of Greenbrier and 51, to better accommodate anticipated sidewalk and access to the underground pedestrian crossing that would be to the north. So they've attempted to do that. I think they have, but this condition is appropriate to remain. That way we can fully evaluate prior to the signing of the plan. The next item, I believe, is related to, so as part of our review, we have worked with Strand, one of our engineering consultants. They've developed a letter of items that are technical in nature related to the CSM in their attachment C that would need to be incorporated. Once again, we believe the development team has already addressed most of these, but leaving this condition in here at this time just allows us to confirm that prior to signing the plat or of the CSM. Item 6 itemizes the need to enter into a development agreement related to the public improvements that would be necessary to serve this development area. The improvements to Greenbrier Drive, Kingsland Road, Street A as shown on the CSM. Item 7 is language that ties the zoning to the certified survey maps, pretty standard language that we use when we address platting processes. The following ones are also pretty standard. Pay all outstanding debts to the city prior to moving forward with that. If you can advance to the next, there you are. Item 9, again, another statement that's pretty standard, but we've already gone through the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission process to have the urban service area amended, but that's a standard language that we include here. This document, or the CSM, is unlike a plat and doesn't have to be submitted to the DOT, for example, for their approval, but this language is standard. If there's any additional items that we'd like to walk through as well, these are all very standard to the resolutions we utilize to process final plats. In recognition, this is a pretty large certified survey map, and it does have a fair amount of public improvements associated with it related to Kingsland Road, Greenbrier Drive, and Street A, as well as the stormwater management associated with the CSM area. Staff recommends moving forward with the approval of the resolution. Staff also understands the interest of the development team to have a narrow right-of-way within Greenbrier, as outlined previously. The terrace widths that were described are very consistent. If it was 90 feet, would be very consistent with what we have in other collector street areas as well. And as Steve Tremlett spoke to, the plan for Greenbrier Drive is to have an off-roadway shared use path on the north side, which would still accommodate that 13 to 15 foot wide terrace. And then on the south side of Greenbrier Drive is anticipated a 5 foot sidewalk, which is standard, with a terrace width in the approximately 8 foot terrace width dimension.
All right.
Questions?
Thank you. So really, I think the question was on that item number 3 on the 90 foot to 100 foot. And I just want to make sure everybody's okay with that. And if you need some clarification from developer team, they're here for that as well.
Mayor, where'd the original 100-foot width recommendation come from?
It's part of the comprehensive plan amendment. Alder Mayeski and others were keyed into that dimension as part of the comp plan, appropriately so, but there was a desire to have it reduced to 90 feet as requested as part of the development move forward.
So the resolution is for 100 foot and the developer CSM says 90. Is that how I'm understanding this?
That's correct.
Okay. And did you want to speak to that, Steve, or? I mean, I want to give you an opportunity to clarify why it's not consistent with the request.
Sure. Well, it was noted even in the comp plan amendment by the city attorney that it's not a requirement to follow with that direction ultimately when you start seeing the finished design for the roadway. Obviously on the north side of this entire stretch is either going to be stormwater management, open space. The headquarters is the only development, and they're intending for that development to be furthest north of that property. So if you're talking about open space and wildlife, which I know is part of the reason that the requirement in trail corridors to be 50 foot here, you would have that additional space plus that already noted 13 to 15 feet in the terrace. And so you would have wildlife ability on the backside of the path. Just felt that, make more for the development, leave more for the park. You know, the part of the initiative for the company is to have a very large park here, more than is required. And as you eat up some more of that real estate, that impacts the ultimate size of the park. I mean, that's grandiose talking, but in general, 90 foot is a reasonable requirement for a collector street, and 80 is what's required in the ordinance.
All right, do commissioners have any questions about that? Commissioner Farrell?
I don't have a question about that, but to Director Shield, I heard you mention something about the underpass as it relates to this survey map. What was that again?
Yeah, so there's some right-of-way that's designated, that's been included in the CSM to help accommodate the sidewalk to be within the right-of-way along US Highway 51 near the corner of Greenbrier and 51. In recognition of that sidewalk needing to extend north along the right-of-way, or along the Highway 51 corridor, and then loop down into the underpass. So in spirit, they've made some adjustments to the right-of-way to help accommodate that, and we're just needing to review that last time before the CSM would be signed, but I believe they've accommodated in this version.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments from commissioners? So I guess right now, the resolution states the 100 feet, and if you wanted to approve something other than that, like the 90 feet, I think you would have to make that as part of the motion. So I guess at this point, I would entertain a motion and see where it goes.
I move that the motion be, that the amendment be approved with the 90 foot on the section of Greenbrier Road.
Okay, so there's a motion for the 90 feet to be included in this from Farrell, and a second from Bradford. Ronnie, you'll be able to help me massage the language tomorrow, right?
Yep, I'm working on notes. I am helping, yes.
Okay, does that give you enough clarification?
Yeah, so right now I understand the motion to be just an amendment to the resolution, or is this a recommendation to adopt the resolution with that amendment?
I think it's to adopt the resolution with that amendment.
Okay,
Yeah, just change
That's
the
correct.
100 to 90.
all right.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And is there anybody opposed? That motion does carry. All right, thank you. Next item is preliminary condominium plat for Lot 6 and 51 West subdivision. This one we also have a need for a public hearing. But before we do, is there anything we need to cover, Director Shield?
Yeah, I can just give a brief overview. This lot 6 is a lot that's already been approved for multifamily, a number of duplex units actually, and they're actually already under construction. The request is to make them allow them to be made into condominiums so that they can be sold off as ownership units. The plat of the condominium platting process follows the subdivision and platting process in Stoughton. And therefore, it's been submitted as a preliminary plat, and it's recommended by staff to approve as well.
All right, thank you. Any questions or comments before we go into the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close our regular business, open for the public hearing. Is there anyone that would wish to speak at the public hearing? It looks like we have Charles Elliott's here on behalf of the developers. Go ahead.
Right, I just want to reiterate that we are under construction. We've done condo projects before, it's not our first. We've done them in Windsor, Fitchburg, Oregon, Verona. So the condo docks are pretty much the same. We're using Axley to produce them. I think we've got them all down and figured out. The hardest thing was the condo dues, which it always is. But if you have any questions, I'm here for that. Otherwise, I'll step away. Thank you.
All right, thank you for being here. And Alderperson Caravello's joined us now, for those that are online that didn't see him walk in, and Attorney Dragney is here as well. Anybody else for the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close that, and then we'll reopen for our business on item number 9. Are there any questions from commissioners? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion and make a recommendation to City Council on this condo.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Alderperson Schumacher. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Bradford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is the final plat for 839 to 981 North Page Street. And you might recall that this is a commercial property that they were looking at creating a condominium units. And so we're here for a final plat and a recommendation to City Council. Anything you want to cover, Director Shield?
No, I think you kept it well. Just a reminder, there isn't any residential component to this plating. The preliminary plat was approved by the Plan Commission and Council. The next step in that process would go through the final plating process as they are as part of this. There was nothing that was identified as part of that process that would make us recommend not approving this.
All right. Any questions from commissioners on this one? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for a recommendation to the council. A motion by Commissioner Bradford. Is there a second? Second by Alder Caravello. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. Item number 11 is final plat for lots 1, 3, and 4 within the 51 West subdivision. Oh, I just lost it. Director Shield, is there something you want to cover on this one? I'll reopen it here while you're setting up here.
Sure. This area has already been platted. These 3 lots are in the northwest corner of 51 West. You might recall this actually came before us to split these lots. These are a number of duplex units. They have street frontage, so their request is to create this subdivision that creates separate parcels for each one of these half units of duplexes. The preliminary plat was approved both by Plan Commission and Council. It's now before you as part of a final plat. Once again, there's nothing here that we identified that would be appropriate to deny at this point.
All right. Any questions on this one from commissioners? Okay, hearing none, I would look for a recommendation to the council.
Recommend to council.
Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Farrell. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. That motion carries. The next item is specific implementation plan for lot 3 and 4 within the 51 West subdivision. Director Shield.
Yeah, if you can pull this one up on the screen, this is the first step, well, not the first step, this is the step to move forward with the SIP related to lots 3 and 4 within the 51 West the development. The lots 3 and 4 are actually part of the area that is shown on the west side. Again, lots 1, 3, and 4, we went through the platting process. This was part of a GDP, a general development plan. Therefore, it's necessary to bring it back through the SIP process related to these. And The staff review letter is included in here, the application is included. We support moving forward the SIP for this two-family development, ultimately is what it's for.
All right, are there any questions from commissioners on this one? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion for the SIP. Motion by Bradford, is there a second? Second by Farrell. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Item number 13, is this one you're here for, Matt?
I'm not sure.
Conditional use for the indoor commercial entertainment use, a restaurant tavern at 210 Water Street. This one, we're gonna have a need for a public hearing, and this is, I believe, the former Cully's building, as many of you might know it, or Stella's before that. We do have an application for conditional use for this one. Director Shield, do you want to go through this?
Yeah, the historical use you just mentioned was discontinued for more than a year. Therefore, the need to go through the conditional use process is before you again now that an applicant wants to reopen it as such a restaurant and lounge facility. The materials contained in your packet support the application and are available to be discussed by staff and or the applicant if appropriate.
And we'll have a need for a public hearing on this one. Before we do, I know for a conditional use, Matt, there's some rules that are a little different than our traditional approval process. So you probably, some of you might remember that. Others, it'll be maybe a reminder of how that process works.
Do you want me to provide a brief overview?
Sure.
Okay.
As long as you're here.
Sure. And I apologize for I thought the meeting started at 6:30 tonight, so I guess my calendaring was off by about half an hour. So I know at least some of you have heard me talk about conditional use permits. So some of this will be review for some of you. We tend to make two different kinds of decisions here at the Plan Commission. Some cases you're making simply policy decisions where you have the discretion to base that decision on a broad range of factors and your judgment about what's in the public interest. A conditional use permit is somewhat different. It's a quasi-judicial decision, meaning it's a decision that has to be based on the application of the evidence or the information that's presented to you to the standards in the ordinance. And then you need to make a judgment about whether the evidence supports approving or denying the conditional use permit on that basis. So what you're going to be looking for is what information is being presented during the public hearing and in the application about why this proposed conditional use either does or does not, or is not consistent with the standards in the ordinance. Now, I don't have that up in front of me, the standards up in front of me, and it may be that this is addressed in the memo. I'm trying to get my computer booted up here, but that's the nature of the task when you're looking at a conditional use permit.
All right, anything about the conditional use itself, Rodney, you want to cover?
I'm sorry, I was muted. The resolution outlines the staff's position, not necessarily the staff's position, but the items that are being reviewed as part of this, and has been prepared to be in support of the conditional use for this location.
All right, so the resolution has that language in there. The applicant is here. We can go into the public hearing, and then if there's any questions about the specifics or the applicant, when we come out of the public hearing, we can get those answered. So we'll close our regular meeting, and then we'll open for the public hearing, And I believe I had one person that signed up online, Mary. You can just introduce yourself and so we can get it into our records here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Condon. I live at 214 West Washington Street, and I'm here tonight to talk about my concerns. So I'll provide a little bit of background, state my concerns, and request some conditions. We bought our home in 1993. At the time, 210 Water Street was home to an ice cream parlor and retail store. They sold antiques. We were also business owners in Stoughton, in both Stoughton and Madison, understand how difficult and challenging it can be to own and operate a business. About 10 years into owning our home, the owners of the ice cream parlor and retail store sold their business. The new owners converted the space to a bar, which was mentioned earlier, Stella Speakeasy. We heard the new business would be offering live music as well. We were supportive of the new business. The business opened, and after several months of music, both live and recorded, the sound became an issue for the neighborhood community. We had several meetings with the bar owner, city council members, police chief, and zoning administrator to find a resolution for both the bar owner and the neighborhood community. A partial resolution was to have the doors and windows closed and all patrons moved inside off the deck and grounds by 11 o'clock at night p.m. Through time, the bar owner did not comply. The police were called several times, and after about six or so years, the bar owner relocated the business. A year or so after that bar relocated, a new bar moved in. Live music, karaoke, and recorded music pumped up again. The owner also did not comply with the 11 p.m. requirement. Several calls were made to the police. That bar closed. As a nearby neighbor, it concerns us that another bar or restaurant is occupying this space. History has not been positive for either the neighbors or the bar owners. While the music, live or other, can be enjoyable, it quickly becomes noise when you're trying to sleep. People talking on the patio quickly become personal conversations in our home, oftentimes audible enough to understand what is said while inside our home. We ask this new business to be neighborly. Consider your impact on our neighborhood. We want to support your business, and the last thing we want to do is call the police. Please ask yourselves if you want the police at your door frequenting your business. Please understand where we are coming from. This is where we live. For the Public Safety Committee members, as you review this business, please add the condition, I don't know if it's still in there for this bar or not for this location, for this business to adhere to the closure of doors and windows and patrons off the deck and property grounds by 11 o'clock p.m. Urge them to reduce the volume of noise overall. This business is located in a neighborhood. Sound easily travels across the river and parking lots. Encourage cooperation and neighborliness. Thank you for your time and consideration of our request.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at the public hearing portion of this? Sure, come on up to the microphone.
Mr. Mayor, good evening, and a member of the council. Thank you very much for your time. Madam Mary, thank you very much. I really appreciate that and the time to address you. I hereby simply requesting one fundamental respect, that when you come into the neighborhood, respect those you find there. I've lived here for more than 1.5 decades, and I've spent time there, and I actually agree with you that the owner previously perhaps did not respect the wishes of those surrounded them. I have personally can identify so. And what I would like to promise, we're now bringing in a party in town, simply the fundamental basis of the business I'm trying to open. It is a quiet vibe giving the surrounding neighbor a better living, a better life. We will not be playing karaoke, no live band. We will respect those who we found there, because those are our foundation. ground. I specifically only wanted to say so, but also there has been a little bit word about the food. We understand we don't have a kitchen. We cannot offer food without kitchen. And so then the plan B, if we can offer people, because people are driving while drunk in town, but not only that, there is a magnificent investment being diverted from this town. I am a father, I have a kids here, they go to school here, and if I cannot respect them, then I cannot respect my neighbors. So we are not really bringing anything out of ordinary in town, but rather just a friendly vibe, truly, completely. We cannot run a kitchen according to the public health safety code if we don't have a kitchen. We're not going to bring a karaoke or live music. I really do appreciate that concern. That is a very important, and it's like you move right next to my house and you become my problem. It's unfair for you. It's unfair for everybody. So that is only, I wanted to specifically just add, I can completely comprehend and understand a concern. You have your $500,000 home and I just show up and start to give you problem. No, you have a right to kick me out. The neighbor who actually encouraged me to open this business is the neighbor themselves who have known me for over 1.5 decades. They know that I run accommodations like this around the world, not only here. My first job, I'm a safari guide. I own a safari company, and I run this respectfully. And the only thing what made me wanting to do so is that my company have saved more than 851 people from just Wisconsin, excuse me. Now those people that travel abroad, across the world, and they experience my service, they kind of want to keep and having it. And my way to give it to them, it's that. But those are respectful people, very respectful people. So I wanted to assure you one thing. If there is any noise, please tell Mr. Mayor to kick me out. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak at the public hearing? Hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. So we'll be looking for a recommendation to the city council, and I guess I would ask the city attorney, is there anything that you've seen or heard here that should be considered as far as conditions or anything?
I just want to make sure I understand the context. So what is the proposed conditional use? Is it the restaurant use?
Tavern lounge.
Indoor tavern lounge?
Yeah,
Okay.
indoor commercial entertainment, yes.
Indoor commercial entertainment. Okay, so, I mean, what stood out to me in terms of the information that was presented is the history of live music that was concerning to the surrounding neighborhood. I think I heard information that the proposed new operator will not provide for live music. That seems like an area to consider a condition that would make sure that that doesn't happen. That was the main thing that stood out to me as an issue. What the ordinance says is, the standard in the ordinance is that the conditional use should not be granted unless you find that the use will not create undesirable impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. And so I guess that the music was the one thing that I saw as an issue to consider.
Okay, thank you. Any thoughts from the commissioners? Commissioner Farrell?
Just a clarification in the letter from Director Shield, paragraph 2C, where it talks about potential impacts to the surrounding area. It says, we do not see substantial or major impacts related to the lodging use. Is that a typo?
So this has lodging in it as well. I think that could be, there's upstairs lodging that's not related to the conditional use though, that it does appear to be a typo.
Did you want to clarify that? Come on.
Just a little. Just a really quick clarification to remove the cloud of that is that there are 2 apartments upstairs. So it's apartment, of course, people live up there, and in the next month or so, I plan to be renting the upstairs apartment, and in partial, particularly that resonate directly to the promises that I'm renting below, so that I won't be bothering those people who live up there. So I'm currently waiting on the landlord myself to finalize for the people who are living there currently, and then I will take upstairs in partial, because I can understand that when you are operating business on the ground level and you have a neighbors upstairs, they have to sleep, maybe they have a kids, and therefore it is our plan that I will be taking upstairs as well. And in one of the reasons is so that we won't be bothering the neighbors upstairs. And also upstairs, I mean, you may call the lodging, but it is an apartment, and so indeed that is very well in the considerations. I will personally now want to be living upstairs when somebody's running business below, but I will rather I live upstairs if I'm running business below. Therefore, I minimize the level of bothering those who are living above myself. It is not forceful situation, however. It is that we are waiting for their lease, and they're planning to be relocated, and I believe they're being relocated not because we are taking it, but it's that the landlord who owned the place has other properties that has already offered the people above before I even was offered the place. Thank you, Councilman.
Mayor, I think there might be one additional item that should be considered. There was Mary Condon spoke to the hours for outdoor seating and opening windows and doors, or for them to be closed at 11 p.m. That was part of the testimony she provided related to that sound.
Okay, now I'll look to Attorney Jergney on that.
Well, just a couple, I guess, questions and maybe clarifications. Earlier, when I was talking about music, I might have used the words live music. I think that the concern really has probably more to do with amplified music than whether it's live music or not. So I guess my comments would pertain to amplified music. Rodney, is the outdoor seating something that is allowable with the indoor commercial entertainment conditional use? Is outdoor
Yes.
seating? It is? Okay.
Indoor commercial entertainment allows for a small amount of outdoor seating. I believe the outdoor seating of this falls underneath that. So yes, it would allow for that outdoor seating area to be utilized.
Okay. All right.
All right, any other questions or comments from the commissioners? You had a little time to absorb this. Commissioner Bradford?
I just guess I need to clarify something. It sounds like, first of all, we've got a neighborhood noise issue that's been in the past. The deck on the river is one of the most, what would I say, alluring parts of that property, and yet we're going to say that they can't have, any kind of music or whatnot. You can have a lot of people out there. I think Mary talked to the fact that even conversations can escalate and draw out there. So the noise level is one thing. And then please correct if I'm not hearing this, but it sounds like we're losing 2 apartments in Stoughton? That those people, that there will not be any living situation other than the owners or the rentees?
I think what I heard is the 2 tenants that are currently there were offered other properties, and I'm not really sure. Are you moving in upstairs? Is that what I understood?
Yes.
The whole upstairs, both units?
Yes, and I have the 2 room both downstairs as well.
Oh, there's 2 downstairs as well?
Yes, and I have no interest in playing music in the patio. I think that should be a place for people to simply enjoy their neighborhood and relax. And if you say you don't need a music in there, I'm completely okay with that.
And then I guess my other thing is, we've ruled out music, we've ruled out some other things, and I don't understand, please forgive me, the whole no kitchen. So I saw something to a food truck, but the food trucks aren't allowed.
Yeah, so I think,
Is this a catering situation, or are they gonna be calling for food delivery to the place, or what's?
so my understanding is currently there's no commercial kitchen in the place. I don't know if there's an option to put one in or not. Ben can maybe clarify that. We have a food cart ordinance. The food cart ordinance has some restrictions, including the downtown district. So having a food cart in front of the building really wouldn't be an option. Like any other place, they could order food and have it brought in. I think that occurs in some other places already. So I'm not really sure, you know, if you're planning on doing food there or where you're at on that.
Indeed. We don't have a kitchen, and the only reason this subject, I believe, came up is because my first pre-application when I requested City Council was that since we don't have a kitchen, I own $100,000 food truck. Could I use it since I have a parking if it's allowed by following the condition use? But then I was already informed by Mr. Michael that it's not allowed, and since it's not allowed, I have no option but to trash the food truck. I understand that. I respect that. We don't have to do that. Secondly, it should just be noted that in just as past few months, I opened a restaurant called Benjo Food. It's at 135 West Main Street. So I do have a kitchen right across the street. So should I had a party, like you're coming with your girlfriend, you have a birthday party, and you only want my food is very specific. It's not the food available in this town at all. If then you wanted it, we can do a license. I believe you can go to City Council and get the permission to do the event catering, and that's only like at the plan B. But other than that, we are not forced to do so at all, and we don't want to do so. But if we had to do though, we have a certified kitchen, of which then is at 135 West Main Street. I hope if there is, if there is any cloud over that. So I've already been informed no food truck is allowed, and we don't have a kitchen. And so the only other option, if we had to, would be to utilize certified by public health kitchen. Thank you, Council.
So basically, we're opening another bar,
Yeah, it's a
but with
lounge.
no live music, no amplified music, excuse me.
Well, it
no
depends on
music,
what
yeah.
conditions you.
Yeah,
But I'm
you'll
just
have to
saying,
decide. Yeah.
That's what we're
Right.
approving, is a
Yep,
bar.
that's what you're approving, and it
Okay.
sounds like the applicant is
Yeah,
really open to whatever conditions you might want to put on that. And then those conditions would also go to the city council, and the city council would use this conversation to make their decision. Is that the understanding?
Yeah, the entire record from this meeting would go to the city council, the minutes, your recommendation, and then the council would have to take another look at it, and they would look at your recommendation, they'd look at the information presented, and then they would make the final decision. But typically, the council relies fairly heavily on the plan commission to take the first look at something like this.
All right, Alderperson Caravello.
So that leads me to the obvious, interesting question is definition of amplified music. Is it anything that plugs into a wall that comes out of anything that has a speaker? That, I mean, what is it? you know?
Well, my definition is, yeah, we're using a speaker. I mean, I always have, and I've run across amplified music on a number of these, and I always think of it as acoustic music would be okay. So if someone's playing a guitar or a stringed instrument, but no amplification using a speaker or electronic means, unless if your condition is limited to no amplified music, and I think you need to be clear about, are we talking about outside, inside, or both?
Are you talking about live, or they have a jukebox? Is that allowable?
That would be amplified music if that's what the condition is. So I think we have to be very specific about what you are doing, what you're recommending. And so, yeah, let's make sure we're all clear about terms and definitions, and inside and outside.
Piano, Lord, no microphone, or Spanish guitar.
And then there's the hours issue, which is another issue. Is this the former Norsky Nook location? Is that
No,
what
it's on the other side of Water
Oh,
Street, but
okay.
it's a similar situation.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right on the water.
Yeah.
I just wanted to finalize and
Okay.
excuse my interruption.
That's all right. We want to make sure you have all the information we need to make a decision.
And I really want you guys to have absolutely clear information to make your decisions. I'm not interested in jukebox. I'm not interested in an amplifier plugged in multiple speakers. I'm not at all interested in pissing my neighbor next door off. I'm just interested in just having wine, beer, quiet environment, close and go home. I won't be putting jukebox music. I've seen the problem it creates sometimes. I truly do. I completely understand it, because anybody can come and add them money and jack it as much as they want to. The council, you explained very well about amplified music. It's like me saying, bring in somebody with 4 speakers, one in that corner, and blast everybody. I'm not gonna do that, and if I do it, don't just forfeit my concert, that permission. But also finalize is that, how many of you have been to Juliana restaurant on West Side? If you have a guy in the corner with just a quiet, slow guitar, not bugging anybody, on a specific time, by the way, that is vibe for the people, and the people needs it. It is really necessary, but not the blasting music we are talking about. So, no jukebox, no amplifier. I don't even need that myself. In fact, my office, it's right there. So even myself, I don't like that loud of music. I just want to have people to have a quiet beer, glass of wine, enjoy the vibe. And as you talk about the river, it is a true diamond of the downtown representation. It is your home. I have absolutely no interest in be the one come and destroying the vibe. I found it there, and it is my obligation to respect it. I have no jukebox, no amplifier. It's gonna be quiet, and if it's not quiet, please report to the mayor. Thank you, Council.
Okay, so I think what I'm hearing is the applicant would be okay with the conditions that were outlined by the neighbor and reviewed by the city attorney, and that would include no amplified music inside or outside of any kind. And then the hours outside would be limited until 11 p.m. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay. And then if there's any other conditions you all would like to put on there, certainly, I guess that's up to you, and you don't even have to put them on there if you don't want to, but it sounds like there's no reason not to. Did I miss anything?
Not that I know of.
I think if the neighborhood, the neighbors had a kind of a long-standing agreement with all the prior owners and operators within that same building, then I think keeping those same conditions that they found acceptable in the past would be something to move forward with in the future. That way, he can open a business, they can go to sleep.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like we found
Yep.
All right, so I'm looking for a motion for the conditional use permit, and I assume that both of those conditions will be included into that motion.
I'll make the motion with the conditions that you outlined, Mayor. I don't remember your exact wordings on
Neither
it.
do I.
The no amplified music and no outdoor stuff after 11.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Caravello, but you can play the air guitar there.
Air guitar, fantastic.
Okay. Any more discussion? Did you catch that, Rodney?
I believe so.
Okay. Any other thoughts, Matt, before they vote on it? Okay. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? None opposed. So that would go to the city council, and that would be 2 weeks from tomorrow night, right here at 7 o'clock. Okay? You bet. Thanks for being here, and thanks for the neighbors for being here as well. It's very helpful. Okay. All right. Last item is land division for 1450 Pleasant Hill Road, town of Dunkirk. Director Shield.
Yeah, ETJ request to split off the existing residents from the adjacent ag lands. It's within our 1.5 mile boundary, but it is not, it is beyond our planned urban development area. So staff it does not see a reason to object to this request.
All right. Any questions or comments from commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion for approval, or recommendation to council, I should say.
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second? Second by Bradford. Motion by Caravello, second by Bradford. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. Future agenda items, did you have any, Director Shield?
We will have some additional items related to some TIF items, as well as STI development stuff. And I think we had a preliminary plat that we'll have a final plat that we'll be dealing with in the near future as well.
All right, and I think the notice for the public hearing is on the website by the packets for the zoning request. That'll be on at the next meeting as well, right?
For the STI zoning?
No, for I'm going to call it the C-store ordinance update.
Oh, in October, there will be a public hearing related to an amendment to the zoning code to address a request to amend indoor vehicular sale distances from locations and types of land uses.
Okay. Any future agenda items from commissioners? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Schumacher. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, motion carries. Good night.